Hey guys, I talk about depression and suicide in this video in the context of books that bring up the topic, so if that is an issue for you, please take care of yourself. My entire face is covered in, lavender glitter, and you can't tell. What's the point of coating my entire face in lavender glitter if it's going to be fucking subtle?
Beep, boop, ba-doop, ba-doo, ba-doop, boop.
Tag Tuesday. Okay, so this one is by someone with adorable blue hair. I really like her hair. She's talking, and I'm just like, I really like your hair. I did go look at her Goodreads though, and it says she was born in 1998, and a part of my soul just kind of broke off and withered away. I'm almost a decade older than this child, and she has more followers than me. Kids these days. As she says in her video, we don't talk about the Mach books, probably because they're meh. But, they're either glowing reviews or they're, I hated this book, burn it on a pyre. So let's do this. Don't worry about this. I worked data entry for 6 years and developed a delicious case of carpal tunnel syndrome, so it's fine. 1. What is your meh book rating? 3, probably, sometimes 4. Honestly. Okay, so here's my rating breakdown. If I make a book 5 stars, it's because that reading it put my depression and anxiety and shitty life on hold for the duration of the book. It made my day, my week, my year better than if I had not read it. And that can be the tropiest, silliest, most obnoxious books, or it can be astounding works of literature. It just means that to me this was a fantastic experience. 4, these are basically books that I can't recommend wholeheartedly without reservation. Or it's books that, it was fun, but I walk away and I don't even remember anything about it. 3 is definitely meh. It's I don't know. I mean, it wasn't awful. This book was inoffensive. it was okay. Oh, you wrote a book. Cool. 2, 2 is for books that I hate with my entire being. If you're ever curious what pure rage and vitriol condensed into 3 paragraphs looks like, just go to Goodreads and read some of my 2-star reviews. I was at a book conference, and I also don't remember who said it, but I think it was Kiera Cass, that 2-star books are where you get the real... She wouldn't have said tea back then because it was 2013, but that's what she meant. She's not even the 1-star books. 1-star books, they hated it so much they're not even gonna write a review about it. 2-star books is where the real tea is. 1-star books are just so terrible. It's just so laughingly bad that it's not even worth talking about. A lot of those are my DNF books where I'm just Number 2, a series that started meh but ended up good, Matched. Matched by Ali Condi. So many people on YouTube are books that I hated, books that I felt were overhyped, books that I am unhauling, and they're Matched. Okay. The first book is just kind of a very standard dystopian book. The second book is the most boring thing you're ever going to read. The third book, though... There's a quote in the third book which is reached. It's the red one. But there's a quote in there about suicide that just punched me in the throat, resonated so deeply with me and how I feel about depression. Loved it so much that I think I have it memorized, so let's try it. Okay, so she's standing on a cliff and she's looking down at a ravine, a very dry canyon where when it floods the water whooshes past. And so she's standing and she's looking down at this, and she was I used to love to watch the floodwaters from ground that was safe but shaking, but now all I can think is it must be a terrifying, bright relief to see the water coming and know that this is it. I am finished. And I was I actually wrote her a card telling her how incredibly meaningful that quote was to me. And I named my depression blog Terrifying Bright Relief because, wow. Anyways, also in there is this amazing celebration of creativity for creativity's sake, because in their society, people have not created anything new. They have the 100 poems, the 100 songs, the 100 paintings, they decided what were the top 100 of each art form, and then they erased all other forms of artistic expression. So part of healing that society was teaching people how to create and giving them the permission to create. So they start having these underground art exhibit kind of things where like subversive underground art fairs where people show their drawings or their songs, and these are people who have no talent. These are people who are starting to create for the very first time, and they showcase them and they celebrate them, and they're like in awe of the act of creating. And I love that so much. It's so powerful and incredible, and just I feel like you should just read that book. Don't read the rest of the series. Number 3, series that started out good but ended meh. Any series that had a love triangle. Yeah. Like, I don't hate love triangles because they're love triangles. I hate them because the author always puts them with the wrong person. Number 4, overhyped author you think is just meh. John Green. Number 5, books others think is meh but you love. So many. If other people love it, I hate it. If they hated it, I love it. Let me pause and go look at my Goodreads. We're back. I would have to say literally anything by Cassandra Rose Clarke. I was going through my list and I don't know if people thought that the books were meh that I loved or if it was just that they were super underhyped, but there was a time where like they just no one has read it. But Cassandra Rose Clarke, I love her books. She's one of my favorite authors. She's incredible. Then I read all the other reviews and everyone else is like, and I guess that's because her books are so good that I'm willing to overlook a handful of like questionable plot decisions. Like The Assassin's Curse, which is fantastic. Although I think her publisher closed down and she had to make it a new book. They combined the duology into one giant ass book, which I'm like, damn, why'd you do that? That book starts out with the girl kind of making a very irrational choice. I can understand why readers were like, why are you doing this? But for some reason it made sense to me for her character to do that. Anyways, I rate all of her books 5 stars that I have read so far, and most people don't. So, I skipped one. Number 3, a series that started out good but ended meh. Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. She had this incredibly unique story with an incredibly unique... When it was published, you basically had dark, brooding boys who were borderline abusive, or you had, like, knight in shining armor types. During the time it was published, it was possibly the only one I had ever read that had a male love interest who was gentle and kind and sweet. His traits were not strength and protection. Like, he was not a stereotypical male love interest. I do not know if that has changed because I have not kept up with young adult books as much as I used to. But by the 3rd book, she'd roped him into a love triangle with a brooding, angry boy, and I'm just like... Also, the book started out being about connection and found families and hope in dark times, and then the last book just ended up being like every other dystopian novel where everything is bad all the time and everyone just wants to die and it's just awful. Like the plot, like each scene, it was like, this person breaks down and cries, this person has a breakdown, this person has a breakdown, this person has a breakdown, and I'm like, I get that that is realistic for what you have put them through, but maybe stop putting them through that. Your book isn't more powerful because all of your characters are miserable all the time. In the first book, they had miserable things happen to them, but because of their strong ties and connections with each other, they were not miserable. I don't know, I was just really annoyed with where that went. A book so meh you forgot the plot. A lot of free romance books from Amazon that I read when I'm sad, and all I can tell you is what kind of gender pairing it is. There's some romance that is amazing, but a lot that I read whenever I don't have money to buy good books, especially because my library doesn't have very much queer fiction in it, I tend to just go on Amazon and get free books, and I don't know what happens in them. They're fun to read, but I honestly couldn't tell you anything about them. Number 7, a meh character that could easily be replaced. Harry Potter. Fucking fight me. Number 8, an amazing book with a meh cover. Yeah, hold on. I'm not super sure if I would call this an amazing book because I rated this 4 stars because it's one of those ones that I can't recommend without mentioning the fact that it is so boring for the first 100 pages that you should skip to literally page 102 and start at chapter 12, because chapter 12 opens with a fantastic summary of what has happened in the first 100 pages, and then you don't have to read them because they're boring. Anyways, look at this terrible cover. What? This doesn't look natural. By that I mean, like, it looks like there's a wall here that she doesn't really fit. Her hair looks greasy. She kind of looks dead. I mean, I just want to talk with whoever designed this cover. Ugh. Like, I get that she's supposed to be wet because she's in the water, but if that's so, why isn't the water moving? Like, it doesn't look like she's in that water. It just kind of looks like they put water in front of her. It's bad. Alright, and that's it. Tagging people. So I tag R. Jensen because, you do so many tags anyway. And, if anyone else wants to do this, you could do this if you wanted. If you don't, I don't care. Also, I know that no one super cares about this, but I'm attempting to do a Tag Tuesday every other Tuesday. That's my attempt at something like a schedule. Oh, did you hear that? That was my hip. See, Miss 1998. This is what happens when you're 70,000 years old.